Beau Show. As part of my interview series, I was able to speak to Preity Upala. She's a former investment banker turned thought leader and media entrepreneur based in Hollywood, California. Preity is also advisor to many private technology companies, as well as a member of the Young Presidents Organization and various travel, technology, and innovation council. She works as a geopolitical expert. She's an award-winning international columnist and is the director of the Omnia Institute. She hosts a popular news show called The Preity Experience and is a much sought-after radio and TV commentator. Along with being an author, she's a political analyst, with her work appearing in more than 100 publications, including The Observer, The National Telegraph, Business Standard, Foreign Policy, Times of Israel, and The Times of India. She has spoken at various think tanks and has been a keynote speaker at global summits, such as WEF and the Center for Human Prosperity, among others. Ms. Upala has received the Young Leader of the Decade Award at the Women's Economic Forum, as well as the Icon of the Year at the Promising Indians Foundation. As a certified Dharma ambassador, she has given lectures to thousands of students and corporate clients on the topics of Sanatana Dharma, feminism, soft power, and Indian philosophy. No stranger to adventure, Preity has visited over 100 countries and imbues her literary and journalistic work with international sensibilities. Her expertise is on foreign policy, U.S.-India relations, South Asian politics, counterterrorism, conflict resolution, and international diplomacy. She speaks 5 languages, and her literary work has been translated into several languages. She holds certifications in nuclear terrorism from Stanford University and counterterrorism from Georgetown University. Preity is an accomplished executive with 15 years of experience building, advising, and investing in businesses in Australia, Asia, and the United States. She currently serves on the board and head of corporate strategy at SkyZag Incorporated and Parallels and Meridians. As an author, her aim is to empower lives and see them through their difficulties, encouraging them to spread their wings and reach their highest potential, helping them discover themselves, that they may more clearly see the path which they are on to fulfill their greatest achievements. Preity and I had a lot to discuss, from how the pageant world has redefined femininity, to her intimate knowledge of sports, to how her culture has shaped her views and expertise. It's rare to find a person who can provide perspective or knowledge on such diverse topics, but she's just a very well-rounded, seasoned person. At a time when our own newest Supreme Court justice could not define a woman, I thought it would be prudent to hear from a woman about what a woman is, what she's capable of, what hurdles she has to surmount, and how all that plays out into the personal and professional world. Here's Preity Upala. Preity Upala, thank you so much for joining me here on the Beau Show here in Las Vegas at Freedom Fest.
Namaste, Beau. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm really excited to hear your perspectives on a number of topics because you're a very diverse individual who has a very diverse history and experience with a lot of expertise in many areas. So let's start out with this, your Indian heritage. You've got a deep connection. You are a Dharma ambassador. I want to know what that is and tell me how your Indian roots have influenced you today.
Wow. What a wonderful question. What a great way to start this conversation. You know, growing up, I never really saw myself as, like, my Indian identity wasn't such a big part of who I was. I grew up in the Middle East. I was certainly an outsider. Then I lived in Europe and then eventually Australia and now America. But it's only when I moved to to America that I really realized my identity, my roots, who I am. And my spirit, my soul, my spirituality, my philosophy in life is so Indian, and that has really shaped me to be the human being that I am. And I think it's played a huge part because, you know, regardless of how you see yourself, especially in this country, people see me, they see the Indianness in me, and it's actually a very positive thing. So you cannot run away from that. I think you have to fully embrace it. And it's helped me enormously.
And it's interesting that you kind of found your individuality as you came to America,
Yes.
which is great because America celebrates the individual,
Yes.
but it's also unfortunately celebrating a lot of groupthink too,
Yes.
and identity politics. So you bring a level of, you talked about your Indian spiritualism to Hollywood. I lived there for 5 years, and I found it to be a soulless
Yes.
place. How do you maintain that, and tell me how you've shaped that while you're in Hollywood?
Well, it's interesting. So on the one hand, although it's great to see that whether it's yoga, meditation, vegetarianism, Ayurveda, yoga nidra or kirtan, all these wonderful things are so fully embraced by the West, especially the hippie community in LA and Hollywood and all of that. The problem is, I think they've bastardized it. They've removed they've stripped it off its source and the originality, authenticity, and it's become like yoga is just a fad now for people to look hot rather than this spiritual tool that is used to connect mind, body, and spirit ultimately. So for me to see my culture being butchered like that, it's very worrisome. The problem is, the Indians in LA and California, some of them are just very happy that the culture is being embraced. Some don't even know what's going on. And then there's a very small group that has a voice like myself who thinks that this is very dangerous. You must, be respectful to source. And, it's not a fad. It's not hip. It's not trendy or cool. This is a deep, ancient, it's probably 7,000-year-old civilization we're talking about, and you have to respect it. And it's, enormously beneficial. And the more you give to it, the more you get from it. So it's been interesting, but I agree with you. I think the Hollywood spirituality is really the wrong kind of spirituality. It's very empty. It's hollow. And they think that they're a better human being because they're vegan or they do yoga, and that's not what we're.
It's not connected in the true culture.
True.
Let's talk about what it means to be a woman, because you were Miss India International, and recently Miss Universe put out this crazy statement. I was a little surprised to see it, that said that not all people who menstruate are women. And it sent kind of shockwaves through the world. To some it was not a surprise. To me it was. They're redefining what a woman is, especially in the pageant world. Do you think it was right of them to do that? And what does a woman mean being to you?
Wow, that's a hot potato. I think beauty pageants should stay away from mixing this kind of politics. And we can talk about world peace, we can talk about what we need to do as a society to be better, and what these ladies can do when they are the ambassador, if they do win. I think that's what people want to really know. But then when you infuse this sort of politics, and this is very subjective, it's one person's truth will not be the other person's truth, and there's a lot of disagreement, right? Incongruence, I think. So I would advise any of these organizations stay away from divisive politics.
But they don't, is the thing,
don't,
because
yeah.
I know when judges were writing questions, I'm thinking about this. Imagine if you're now going to compete in Miss Universe, you are Miss India, or let's say Miss USA, and the question, and you've seen what they've written on social media, and then you're in the top 5.
Yeah.
And I say, Preity, here's my question to you. What does it mean to be a woman? Doesn't that put you now in a box as to what you can say?
Yes, you have to be very careful, because also this lady is also, she needs to think about her career. What her answer is going to be, her response is going to elicit a response from the judges and the audience, and they're going to judge her. They're going to say, oh, she's really liberal, progressive, this is a kind of ambassador we need, or they'll think, oh, she's too conservative. Is this really the sort of person that we want representing our brand, and so on and so forth? It's all very subjective, right? So it's a dangerous path that they're going on, and the girls, they have to do what they have to do. If they're asked a question, they have to answer it, right? Or else you're going to just lose points. Now the girls have to think about these issues that maybe they're not really that passionate about, but they need an answer ready to go. I think it's very dangerous.
A politically correct answer as well, which to me takes the individuality out of it, because you can't answer how you really want to answer it, and you'll be penalized for it. Well, you've made a great brand of your name, the Preity Experience. And while you highlight global thought leaders, do you think being pretty in today's world or the concept is advantageous, or do you think the concept of attractiveness has morphed into something else?
Well, the Preity can be either pretty, like my name Preity, or pretty, the word, the adjective. It's a double-edged sword, to be honest, and this applies for men and women. I think on the one hand, you have an audience. People will see you, people will listen to you. The human human eye is attracted to symmetry, to beauty. They just think that you are a better human being because you look good, right? So you have that advantage where I think you can you can garner an audience. I really think for people who want a serious platform, if you happen to look good, you have a big advantage in that because people are already there. They had you had them at hello, so to speak. So that's good. But then on the flip side, they may be so sort of entranced by your physical beauty that they are not looking deeper.
That's what I'm wondering. Did you ever
Yeah.
feel discounted by your looks?
Yes, and also the kind of industries that I've been in, investment banking to media to geopolitics, and now the sports aspect as well. All of these are heavily male dominated, and I was always, the only woman there. I'm lucky I had good mentors and good colleagues, but I think in my case particularly, when they first see me, they're attracted and they have some certain perception of me. The minute I start opening my mouth, and say some things, I think very quickly it becomes very clear who I am and where I come from. And I have to say I'm very pleased that they have learned to respect me and say,
Good.
oh wow, she has opinions, she's smart, she doesn't budge, she can hold her own with us, she can debate, and she's very feminine. She doesn't want to be like us.
Right.
And I think they appreciate that.
That's good because you can disarm them almost immediately
Yes.
based on their preconceived notion. Well, let's talk about sports because you're a
Yeah.
sports enthusiast, especially
Yes.
Indian cricket.
Yes.
And to the extent that you're a commentator for the sport,
Yes.
do you think female commentators in sport are treated equally or fairly in the sports world?
Firstly, female sports writers, female commentators are so far and few in between. I mean, honestly, I can probably count on my hand globally how many female cricket commentators there are. And this is the second largest sport in the world, second most popular and lucrative.
Wow.
3 billion people are obsessed with cricket globally. And you have maybe, I know 2 women who do it sort of professionally. And they get the hard end of the stick. Not only are there so few women, you'll be on a panel with 5 dudes. These guys always will, being on a political panel with 5 men is one thing. Being on a sports panel with all that testosterone, and come on, we're
Do you
talking.
get more respect or less in the sports world?
I wish I could say more because it's such a novelty. And I think in soccer, maybe it's a little better, I don't know. But in cricket, no. And I think it's up to the woman herself to create a brand for herself, to speak out, to step up and do something. And she doesn't have a group of women there with her. There's no union. So I think you're on your own here. You do what you can. They should be more supported and respected because I think it's a unique voice.
It is a
and
unique
women
voice.
play cricket too. The game is growing. But I think, I do a lot of sports analysis, and I've been on shows where it's 5 dudes and it's me. And in the beginning, they didn't know what to say, but I made sure I was heard, and I put those people in their place, man. Now they're scared of me,
Yeah.
So they're tread
You
very
held your own
carefully.
for sure. Well, let's stay on the subject of sports for a moment. From an economic perspective, the U.S. women's soccer team recently got equal pay as the U.S. men's soccer team, even though they don't bring in as much revenue. Do you feel that was correct for that to happen, and will we see more of that?
Great. Well, certainly this is the way the sports industry globally is moving. All sports. And look, as a woman, I don't think discrimination is good on any grounds. We have to support it. Again, sports is traditionally a male activity, right?
Yeah.
So if there is a girl who is interested to watch it, to play it, she should be supported, absolutely. The problem is, I think there's this overcompensation, and the get-go, they want to offer, like cricket is a great example. The men's game brings in billions and billions in revenue and advertising and so on. The women's game, not so much, but there's a real push. They want new cricket tournaments for women. They want to give women, close to the pay that men get. And there's a lot of debate on that. I think it's very dangerous. I think you're setting very false expectations because you're also pretending or you're trying to tell the female athletes that you guys bring in the billions of dollars when they don't yet. One day they will. Look at tennis. women's tennis does as well as
Very popular, yeah.
and they get the same pay, and that's fantastic, and it's competitive. So I think
You think the market should determine that then?
the market should determine that, and the quality should determine that. I will say with the U.S. soccer team and the U.S. basketball team and the hockey team in particular, they are champions. They're very good. It's one thing if you had some female team that was coming last and they wanted, I think this is a case-by-case thing. I think U.S., a lot of this women's sporting teams are very competitive. They're very good. They make their nation proud. If you're winning gold medals, you deserve a decent pay. Maybe not as much as the men, but good enough. So I support that.
But they've got it now, and that's the question: is once they've done that, doesn't that set every other female sport up to say, well, female swimmers should make the same as males, female baseball, softball should make the same as men's baseball team, and it's not market dominated.
No,
you're setting up a false.
But remember, when you look at gymnastics, that's female dominated. So male gymnasts are more rare, and female gymnasts get much more money. They get endorsements. They're beautiful. And look at Russia, the Russian female gymnasts. Oh my God, they're superstars in their area, and they have a couple of guys who are famous, but nothing like the women. So this happens the other way around too. But obviously, the men don't make a big deal out of it. So
it'd be interesting if they did.
They'd get shut down.
Exactly, but that's the problem.
Keep quiet.
I know. You've had
thousands of years. Now it's our turn. This is a very dangerous game. I think you have to support, and yes, I think don't give them atrocious pay. That's not fair either. You're growing it. Give them perks, support them, but no. If they're bringing in the eyeballs, absolutely they deserve it.
But at this point, they're not.
Yeah. Or if they're winning gold medals and they're winning world championships, they need to be supported, absolutely.
What do you think of Indian politicians like Nikki Haley? Let's use her as an example. And tell me if you feel Indians in general as a voting bloc are more free enterprise oriented. Are they less government? I don't want to generalize. You hate to do that. But from your experience, what have you noticed?
This is such a great question. So traditionally, Indian Americans have always voted Democrat only because they thought that the Democratic Party espoused the values of, pro-immigration, diversity, all that good stuff. Now things have sort of changed a lot, and we are seeing a real shift. Indian Americans are starting to vote right. A lot of them are leaving the Democratic Party. I know this last election was maybe 35, 65.
65 for Biden, 35 Trump?
Yeah, and that's a big jump
big shift.
From, it used to be 80-20 to be honest for a long time, and now it's steadily moving right or moving center, I would say. It's funny because Indians are by nature entrepreneurs. They love free enterprise, less taxes. They're all about
very
prosperity,
conservative libertarian policies.
Family values, people of faith. If you probably ask them issues on abortion and all this stuff, they are very, very close to conservatives in America. However, I think the DNC has done a great job of marketing their party as the party for immigrants. That's also changing. Immigrants of all kinds are waking up. Indians, I think the problem with them are they may feel conservative, but, in their society, in their neighborhood, their other Indian friends are all very, very pro-Democrat, and they don't want to be the black sheep. They don't want to be seen as, you're a flaming right-winger, we don't like you. That's not good. What have you become? So I think to keep face, they will vote,
be pressured to. Which is interesting because you've heard the Blexit movement for black. You've heard of Lexit, which is Latino. How can we do one for Indian? It's got a vowel that starts it. I don't know what you would call that. But but it seems as though what you're saying is there is a shift politically.
And even in India itself, hugely nationalistic, hugely patriotic. People want less bureaucracy, more prosperity. Thank God India's done with socialism. It did not work. Like newsflash, it doesn't work. Communism doesn't work. These are awful ideas.
Do you think Nikki Haley helped in part shift that because of how prominent she was?
I think India was churning way before she came onto the scene. It's been going for a while. 1991 was the official technical end of the socialist governance, and we went open market big time. And so in a few short decades, they've done incredibly well, but we have to go next level. And I think this current government under Prime Minister Modi, he wants to take India to the top, and he will. I think he's got what it takes, and the country has got what it takes.
So my last question for you, Preity, is this. You say that you want to help people see through to their highest potential, okay? If America could be considered a person, right now, ailing with inflation and bad energy policy and the pains we're feeling right now. How would you fix America's inability to actualize its potential right now?
Great. First, I would say be grateful. Be grateful that you're such an amazing country, the greatest country in the world in many ways, to live and follow your dreams and follow your dharma and make it. I mean, the system is the most fairest and best in the world, I would say. So be grateful for what you have. Do not take anything for granted. Know how good you have it. You know, I know that we have problems here, and we you know, even at this Freedom Fest, you know, there's debates and people talking about religion and guns and all that stuff. But you're so lucky that we're able to do this. And yes, freedom of speech is being attacked, but we still have it. We still have it. There are many countries where they don't even have that. So be grateful. Don't take anything for granted. I think educate yourself on what's going on in the world. This is my advice to America. You're too insular. You need to know what's happening geopolitically around the world, because the world is changing, the global order is changing. This century is the Asian century. You know, between India and China, these are the two big powers, and don't ever count out Russia. They have been a superpower in the past. They will never go away, and they're growing steadily at their own rate. So these four countries, basically, and including America, are going to shape the world as we know it. And know that you're very much a stakeholder in that. So do your bit. You know, I think take personal responsibility and be proud of who you are and where you come from.
So be grateful and look outward.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great note to end on. Preity, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Beau. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.